Hello everybody, welcome to this video on 3D shape part 1. This is the only video on 3D shape, so for part 2 follow the instructions on the slides and hopefully that will help you for tomorrow's lesson. If you're unsure, you can always come back to this video and have a look and see if that helps you as well. So 3D shapes. Got some examples here of 3D shapes. Maybe I'll come off it. Have a little think. Are there any words that you can remember of 3D shapes? Just give you 10 seconds or so for you to have a think of some of the words, some of the names of 3D shapes. You can give yourself a little tick or a pat on the back for each one. A cylinder, a pyramid, a cone, a cuboid, a sphere, and a cube. What's really useful for you to do is take a look at the spellings of these, which we come to every year. Sphere, which starts with an S-P-H-E-R-E, sphere. And cylinder is always another one that tricks children sometimes. It doesn't start with an S, it starts with a C-Y-L-I-N-D-E-R. So the first thing I'd really suggest you to do is have a little practice at those spellings. Have a go at it, check it, try it. If you've got it wrong, it's no problem, have a go again. A few little things we can recap on, because we have done 3D shapes in school. Cylinder might link to our glue sticks, because that's a cylinder shape, isn't it? Or a tin of beans at home. We often say the cone, just think of ice cream, Mr. Barton's favourite. A sphere, my favourite shape, absolutely love a sphere, it's so perfect. Think about a football or the world or a planet. A cube, we just think of a dice, and that's a really easy one for us to remember how many faces it has, because we know a dice has six sides, 6 faces. So that's an easy one for us to remember. But even better is a cuboid has all of the same properties as a cube in terms of vertices, faces, and edges. The only difference is a cuboid doesn't just have square faces, it has square and rectangle faces. And pyramids, we can think of the Egyptians. So that's a nice easy shape to remember as well. So again, if you use prior learning or think of things you know in the real world to help with your understanding, that makes these shapes much easier to understand. So naming the 3D shapes and their properties. So the main thing we need to know, what do we call these shapes and these properties? And we must remember these. We don't use the word sides, and we don't use the word corners. We use the word face, edge, and vertices. Face, edge, and vertices. They're the only words we need to describe the properties of 3D shapes. The big open area there, I would say, the bit you can touch and maybe put your thumb all the way on, that's the face. And Mr. Barton, to help me remember, I usually say it's the one I can draw a face on. Okay, and that, if you can do that on the wall, we've done this in class. It's the face, because you can draw a face on it. There's a face, there's another face, and you have to count each one. Okay, I can't see the other side of this shape, obviously I can't do all of them, but the face is the one you can draw a face on. The edge is the one you can draw a line along, and again we did this in class, all the way along, so you'll be able to draw a line along them. And some more on this shape here, on this side. Often a little bit trickier to count, if I'm honest with you. Faces are quite easy to count, edges are a little bit more tricky, but you've just got to get into a routine. I normally do one side there, then go to each of the edges at the sides. And vertices. Don't like the word corner, but a vertex is where, because a corner is used for 2D shapes, a vertex is where 3 or more edges meet. 3 or more meet. That's why we say a cone doesn't have vertices, because we say a cone has a point, because there's no edges that go up to it. So a cone has a point. The vertices are where 3 or more edges meet. So you'd see 1, 2, 3, and there's one on the other side. So there is the vertices. There'll be one at the back on the other side over there. One here, one here, come on here. So that shape there would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices. Okay, so they're the important ones. Face, edge, vertices, 3D shapes. Just to recap, 2D shape, we would use the words sides and corners, but certainly not on 3D shapes. Here they've split it into a Venn diagram, and I think that was part of our earlier learning as well, Venn diagrams. So they've flat faces on this side, curved faces on that side, and in the middle they've got flat and curved. So they've got cylinders and a cone, a sphere. Challenge for you, what are those shapes? Have a little think. Oh, you're right. If you're unsure, you could go back to this one and have a look. Give you a minute to think about it. Cube, cuboid, and pyramid. And you could go one step further on that one. You'd like to say it's a square-based pyramid. So that's a Venn diagram. These shapes have been sorted with flat and curved faces. Think about what other ways could you organise these shapes. You could compare instead of faces. You could go back to our understanding. You could compare the edges, number of edges perhaps. You could even compare the number of vertices. You've got a challenge on your practice sheet. What I would challenge you to do is name them first. Can you write them? Can you link to this learning and try and remember the spelling and the names of the shapes? If not, then you've got some of the words here to help you. And then write next to each one how many faces it has. Quite tricky to do if you're just thinking about it. These are much easier to have in your hand and count them. So I'd say if you can find some of these objects, that should support your learning. Okay, but think about some of the things we've talked about earlier on in terms of objects you can use at home that can replicate these. And we know about this one, the cube, just like a dice, that makes things a lot easier for us. And we know that a cube and a cuboid have the same properties, just one of them has a different shaped face. 4 of them, should I say, really, with a rectangle. Okay. If you want to challenge yourself even further, which would be wonderful, and we've done these in class as well, and these might be a little bit easier to count because they've shown all of the sides on them, or you could do your own research on the internet. That's absolutely fine. You're going to write down the number of faces in that box, the shape of the faces. So for the shape of the faces, you will be naming the 2D shapes. So there, that shape of that face is a circle, and that's okay to write that. Will it roll or will it do slide or do both? The number of vertices. Use the word corners. I'm going to cross that out. And on yours, I want you to cross it out because we're not using the word corners. It's an incorrect term. Number of vertices. And I'm going to leave it that big just because I want to. Okay, so that you might be able to name the shapes on there, but when you're naming the shape of the face, that will be the name of the 2D shape. So there, obviously, that would be a square. And for a cuboid, you may well have a square and a rectangle. For that one, I would expect. So you could fill in that sheet there. I'm not going to do it for you because I've talked through what they all are. If you have any questions, refer to number of faces. Well, what object can you count them in? In fact, you could even count that one there, one underneath there, and one around there. So that would have 3. Shape of the face, when we go for a circle, because it's quite tricky to name that shape really because it's circular. Will it roll? Yes. Number of vertices? Well, no, there isn't 3 points that meet. There are 3 edges that meet, so it's 0. Okay. If you're still unsure, there's an activity that you can have a look at on here, where you can choose some of these shapes, try and find them in your house. And it's a bit like an activity I set you a little while ago. So that's an optional activity really. If you want to give it a go, that's absolutely fine. If you don't, you can move on to this final task. And this is quite fun. It says we're going to do an investigation making skeletons. And that means skeletons of our 3D shapes. You can use straws, lolly sticks, dry spaghetti, brilliant, and also toothpicks. Those kind of things are brilliant. I think mini marshmallows is a great one to use because hopefully if they're not too mucky, you can eat them afterwards. Or you can use plasticine and blue tack, but certainly don't eat that. And scissors to cut them. Choose one of the shapes and you're going to make it. You can use all of those things to make it, and it's great fun. And there's an example of the making a cube here. And then this makes it a little bit easier to count the vertices. So that one will be each of those where 3 or more points meet, 3 or more edges meet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We know it's got 6 faces. So a really good thing to do for this is we could say it's got 8 vertices. I like to write it really, don't I? 8 vertices. How many edges? I will count the bottom, then the top, then the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 edges. I don't even need to count the faces because I know it's a cube, and I know a cube is the same as a dice, and a dice has how many sides? You guessed it, 6. So it's got 6 faces. Hopefully I'll be able to update that in a second. 6 faces. So you'll then be able to have a look at these other shapes. We know that it's exactly the same for cuboid, so your properties of those shapes are going to be exactly the same. And you can have a look at some of those other shapes there. Just see if this wants to play. Six faces. Okay, so there will be the properties for that shape there. Okay, you can have a go at the other ones. If you don't want to have a go at those, you can refer up here and have a go at any of these. Obviously, you can't make a sphere, it's the only one you can't really make, unless you want to roll up some plasticine. That's absolutely fine too. Okay, year 2, enjoy the learning. Take care.